What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to a very special episode of Split Screen D&D, show where we're attacking all things Dungeons and Dragons from both sides of the screen. My name's Tom, resident Dungeon Master here at Modern Myth.
And I'm Josh Winans, resident player character here at Modern Myth.
And this is the 20th episode. The big 2-0. I know there were. Ooh, was that kind of the Halo theme?
That wasn't that was the Halo theme. Oh, jeez. Oh, I give up.
Was that kind of the Halo theme?
That was kind of the Halo theme. It turned from 100% the Halo theme to like 50% the Halo theme really quick.
So it's like 75%.
Yeah, you know, average.
On this episode, I know there's a lot of you who are like, they made it to 10. How are they still in production?
I don't know
We're here
either.
at 20. Suck it. And no, for those of you who missed episode number 10, every 10 episodes we are doing a top 10. And just so everyone at home understands the format, that is, I pick 5. My good friend Josh here picks 5. Those are in a vacuum, so we
don't know each other's top 5.
so-
This is exciting for us as it is for
we
you.
may well have some overlap. The first one that we did was top 5 monsters.
I won.
Per the comments, Team Flumph did win.
Team Flump.
This one, there's a much higher probability of overlap here. We are doing our top 5 classes in Dungeons and Dragons. Really exciting topic, especially like the last one. We were kind of living in the DM sphere. Monsters are kind of in the DM sphere.
This is my sphere, bitch.
We're in your sphere now.
Welcome.
And it's my turn to win in the comments.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay,
have no idea even what the thing's going to be, but we're doing it.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna figure it out
The
as we
battle
go
lines
through.
are drawn, and everyone better vote for me, even if you disagree. Let's go. So top 5 classes. I do believe that you read first last time.
I did.
So I'm going to read first this
All
time,
right.
working from number 5 to number 1.
Gotta remind myself.
And
Okay.
we've got right here. I know what it is, but I want to peruse my notes here real quick and just make sure.
Oh, you were-
my number 5, Fighter. Fighter is coming in at
Okay.
my number 5 for a
Okay.
couple of reasons.
Go.
And this is coming from someone who, growing up, my dad played Fighter. My dad ran Fighter, and I went, why? Who in the hell wants to play a martial class, a fighter period,
Mhm.
when you can be slinging awesome spells and stopping time and doing fireballs? And
Yep.
Fighter is my number 5 for a number of reasons. One, it's an awesome holdover from the OG.
Pay homage to your roots, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a starting point. That's the least of my reasoning. But I think that something I really love about the fighter class is via its subclasses, there's a pretty substantial breadth of simplicity all the way to complexity. Take the champion, for example, being on the what I would call
Simple.
the simple end.
Yep.
It's basically smash people and heal, and smash people and heal, and
Yep.
and repeat. All the way to, I think probably the most complicated is the Battle Master for the fighter.
Okay.
There's some like the what is it, Echo Knight?
Oh
or
yeah. Have
the-
you checked out the Echo
yeah.
Knight?
Yeah, there's some cool stuff going
Super
on there.
cool.
And definitely I think utilizing your Echo effectively requires some skill. But in terms of, I don't necessarily mean difficulty of play, just complexity of play, is that with the Battle Master, you've got, to me, the Battle Master is the martial caster in the entirety of 5th edition. And I think it is the best example of a template for what martial should be.
Mm-hmm.
I would make an argument that every martial class should have some list of maneuvers at their disposal.
And you start to see that they started to do that.
Yeah, they started to, and I think if Wizards has not acknowledged it, certainly the player base has, that magic, and it doesn't matter if you're full casting, half casting, divine, arcane, nature magic, whatever it is fucking cool. And martial is just kind of martial. That's kind of, there's been this weird void that's kind of developed. And I think the fighter really exemplifies that sense of things are happening on the battlefield, and I can make an appropriate decision based on what's in front of me. It's not just swing my sword and hit something. It's, do I want to use riposte? Do I want to use
Battle Master's so good.
trip attack is one that I've become very familiar with. But so and for that reason, I think it's on my list mainly because I think it's worth talking about the Battle Master as an exemplar of the way all marshals should feel. That sense of I have options at my disposal because I'm a trained soldier, I'm a trained warrior. When the wizard's turn comes around, they've got options, no doubt.
Gosh,
when the druid's turn comes around, they've got options. When the cleric's turn comes around, they've got options. And for a lot of martial classes, their turn comes around, and the option is I'm going to hit someone, I'm going to stab someone with my blade, and it's going to do damage.
Yep.
That's the long and short of their turn. So that's really honing in on the Battle Master. I'm a huge fan of the subclass. It's such a cool subclass.
Yeah, no, that's one of my. Yeah, I won't go too much into it because I want to get to mine. But yeah, no, I agree. Fighter, one of the best martial classes, and I agree. The subclasses really flush it out.
Yes.
I won't go more into it, but yeah, I totally agree. Fighter is one of the top.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about
why isn't it higher on your list?
You're gonna find out.
Oh, okay.
The last thing I'll say about it is I like the flexibility of not being shoehorned into a single primary stat. I like the ability that you can build a dex fighter if you want. You can build a strength fighter if you want. What I also like is a fighter can also be, this doesn't negate the strength or dex side of things, but there are some classes that inherently just scale amazingly. And fighter is actually with extra attack and everything, they scale really strongly.
Holy sounds, yeah.
But they're one of the classes, and there are a number of them that can really be an equipment centric class, and that's a cool place to be with your DM. Now you may find that your DM is not forthcoming with the equipment side of things, but it's a really cool space. It's a whole other area you can develop your character. Say your DM is just an equipment nut; they're always screwing up crazy stuff. Well, again, it's just a different avenue, and I think the fighter really exemplifies that right tool for the right job attitude. Maybe more than any other martial class.
They're proficient in like every weapon.
Exactly.
Every armor. So absolutely.
So fighter's my number 5.
I agree with that. Fighter's I love fighter. All right.
Bring it. I love team.
I'm gonna the fact that this is as low as it is, I'm probably gonna catch some heat for this one.
Okay.
Especially as a min-maxer.
Okay.
I want to make sure I says yep. Number 5, cleric.
Cleric, okay. Talk to me about the cleric.
Well, for at this spot, I was trying to figure out. In this spot, it was between druid and cleric, and I love druid. I think druid is so fucking cool.
Yeah. Very versatile class too.
And moon druid is so cool. If I ever play druid, I want to play moon druid. But cleric is just the base class and your spell list, and the fact that you can choose your spell list at the beginning of every day, and the fact that you just you have access to medium armor right off the bat. It's amazing. And then you throw in the subclasses. So you have an amazing base class. And then any I think it has more subclasses than any other.
I think it is the highest subclass count of any of the.
And there's not many
classes.
bad ones.
They are all pretty.
They're
strong.
all pretty strong. So you can make
strong.
any cleric that you want, and it's gonna be baller.
Yeah.
So even though you can make a bad cleric, but if you make a good cleric, they came out that Twilight is redonkulous.
Yeah.
Even the.
In fact, I may be mistaken about that. I thought that Sam's character in Critical Role, I think, might have been a. Now I cannot recall offhand.
In the
For some
season
reason,
3.
yeah, I
haven't
believe
seen
is
season
a tweak on the Twilight. But I'm sorry.
Fair enough. No, you're fine. I respect Sam, so if he chose it only makes it better. I don't want to call it the redemption, but there's like a healer class. Even that is baller. You want to be
The life.
druid. Yes, life is really good healer. There's an argument to be made that being a healer is kind of moot in 5e, and I understand that argument. You want to be a damage dealer. There's some amazing things you can do.
Light cleric has got some pretty.
Light's cleric is amazing. There's I always got a kick out of he's like the forger. I forget it's the forge. Cleric.
Oh, yeah.
I got a kick
Forge
out of him.
That is a potent class.
There's
yeah.
you can't name a class and you're like,
Yeah.
that one's
Yeah,
bad.
the subclasses for cleric are numerous and
Yeah,
and
it's just
potent.
all of them amazing because they're all strapped onto the amazing base class. And what I love about cleric is I have really been exploring this, and I find it to be true. If I can make everyone at the table have a better time, that makes my enjoyment so much better. So, cleric is a great buffer.
Yeah.
Their spell list is fantastic, and it's just like I can't stop saying good things about it.
Yeah.
Like it's just an amazing
So,
class.
can you answer this question?
Yeah.
Why 5 then? Why not higher? And I know you asked the same question to me, and maybe that's
No, I
better
have an
later
answer.
on.
I have an
Yeah,
answer.
I'd love to hear it because
it's-
it is such a potent class.
It is such an amazing from a min-maxer standpoint, from a power gamer standpoint, is one of the best classes. The reason why I don't like it so much is you get really tied into your deity, and I feel like that limits you a little bit.
Yeah.
And not much because there's an amazing pantheon in D&D, and you know what? If you don't find one that really fits your whistle, create your own.
Yeah.
You know, and talk to your DM. But it's that's the thing that kind of like from the RP standpoint, I don't want to say it's really like one dimensional or two dimensional. It is what you make it, but you have to be more careful with that.
I think that's fair. I think
Right.
I mean when inherently being tethered, and I'm just going to roll straight in because cleric is my number 4.
Oh,
so I'm gonna just
go
keep right on rolling with that. And I think you hit on a lot of the reasons. I mean, again, there is no way mechanically you can look over all the classes
so
and
good.
not land on cleric and go like, holy shit.
So good.
Really, really potent. A couple things that the reasons it made my number 4 is what I love about cleric is its versatility of play. If you want to be a backline caster, you can build a cleric that's doing that.
Absolutely.
You want to be a frontline brawler,
You could do it.
you can do that.
You can be a
And-
mid. Absolutely.
so there's really no position that you can't play.
Yep.
That followed up by we already touched on here. I mean, the life cleric. There isn't. I mean, put it in the comments. I'll take that fight. I don't think you're going. You can lay out.
Ready?
Okay. What do we got?
A druid with what's the berry? Why can't I remember that card?
Goodberry.
Goodberry. And then you take one level in life cleric. And then there's a lot of other healing things. Because all you
Are you countering my life cleric by multi-classing into my life cleric?
Can we not? No, we're not talking multi-classes.
yeah,
we're not talking multi-class.
No multi-class. Singular class.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't think you can
I agree.
heal a life cleric.
Yes.
Now-
Single class.
For that reason, and again, you're sitting with people you've played with for decades,
Mhm.
or you're sitting down at a brand new table. No one's going to be pissed that you show up with a cleric.
Yeah, no,
So
everyone's
there's
gonna be
another-
happy.
Yeah, if you, I mean, any of the healing classes, anyone who's there to help and support, if you're showing up, so I mean, I think that's a strength of the class, any of the healing classes, but the
Mhm.
strength of the class in that if you're making a class and you go like, well, what can we always use more of? No one's ever going to turn their nose up at more potent healing.
Absolutely.
Now, maybe if the other 4 people in your group are all potent healers, then they go, I don't, it may not be as well received, but in general,
You want
can
one
slot,
healer.
you can slot a cleric into most any party, and people are going to go, sweet.
So yeah. Even if you don't go the healer route, like they can do some damage,
Oh, yeah.
man.
Yeah, they can fill a lot of stuff. I mean, I definitely touched on that was one of the things that originally had it on my list was just how many subclasses and how you could
So
literally go
many.
cleric subclasses.
And they're all good.
Throwing the dart, and that's what I'm going to play.
Right.
And you're not going to be worried about the mechanical side
Yep.
not playing out.
Yep.
So that rolls in at my number 4, just as it rolls in at your number 5. So hit me with your number 4 there, brother.
I'm feeling this is gonna be higher up on your list. I
Okay.
have a feeling we're gonna have a lot of overlaps. Sorry for you. We're like hoping we'd have a lot of fights over this. Wizard.
Wizard. Okay.
I have gained so much appreciation for Wizard watching my wife play it. The ability to have the spell book is so amazing.
Yes.
Ritual casting, I think we talked in our arcane. I'm a big fan of, and Wizard by far has the best ritual
Best
caster.
access to rituals. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just so good.
Yeah, and I would say that transcends all spells. They actually have the greatest breadth of access to spells of any class, but you have to make sure that you know what you want. That to me is the crux, and that's what makes the class so interesting.
Yeah, well, it's yeah, and what I love about it is cleric is I think in many ways it could be considered mechanically stronger. But what's interesting about wizard is you are so many spells. You're limited only by your creativity.
Yes.
And that is just opens up so much that I wasn't aware of until I seen it in play. And it's amazing. Yeah, you got your fireball. Don't get me wrong. You can do some damage. But that's not where wizard should be. Oh, that's a lie. You make your wizard however you want to make. You want to be your evocation wizard. You can do that. But I think it's just there's so many. It's just so versatile.
Yes.
And especially, oh, dude, for my min-maxer brain, divination wizard.
You and I would have a conversation if you brought a divination wizard to me.
With Lucky.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
With a halfling divination wizard.
I threw up in my mouth just now. I just threw up a little bit.
Like it's like if you ever want to give the middle finger to the
narrative.
No, randomness of the dice, but if you want to call that narrative, you call it what you want.
Well, I mean, there's so many things about the divination wizard though, too, that begin picking at the unknowns of a narrative that really do hold the tension in that. Like, I mean, there are serious challenges. I think DMs have serious challenges ahead of them with a min-maxer piloting a divination.
Yeah, for sure. But but let's say what's so cool is like I want this wizard to be a fireball wizard evocation. Sweet. I want this wizard to be a defense wizard abjuration. Sweet.
Yeah.
You have such a strong, it's just like cleric. You have such a strong base class that you just get to pick whatever subclass you want and it just makes it better.
Yeah. Now I will say I love wizard. I mean, growing up, wizard was my class. Wizard, generally it was wizard, even though flavor wise, I liked sorcerer a lot.
Really?
I like the notion of innate casting more than I like being a studious nerd. Like the two images, the guy who's just got natural talent or the guy who
works for it and dedicates himself to a craft. No,
fuck that guy. I mean, like, I was casting fireballs out the womb. Like that guy couldn't even summon familiar.
Whatever. Oh, anyway, yeah, okay.
But so just, I mean, optically, but mechanically, I always played the wizard, even though I liked the optics of the sorcerer class better. One thing I will say is I actually am pretty underwhelmed. Much kind of the opposite of cleric, which is a very potent class.
Absolutely.
And I'd have a hard time pointing at a subclass going like, I really dislike that subclass.
There are some classes.
Honestly, all of the arcane tradition schools of magic, I find to be mainly because to me, the value of the wizard is that breadth. I don't want to be asked to hone in more.
Did you know that what's that subclass? A scribe? I forget what the subclass is. God, I forget the name. Or just make the wizardy more wizard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can push it that direction. I mean, and like I said, that's not to say there aren't subclasses that I like, but I think the traditional subclasses, choosing your school of magic,
that's true.
Those are the ones I find the least compelling.
Again,
I don't think they're bad, but they're not real inspired compared to some of the other.
I think the safe choices, are evocation. But maybe they've added a lot of conjuration spells, so maybe conjuration.
The safe choice to avoid is transmutation. I'll say that much. Transmutation does almost everything worse and at a later level than you could just get it just doing it. Yeah. Like you could just be like, I'm actually going to go with no subclass.
But I just love the fact that your spells are limited by your imagination.
Yes. I that is such a cool holdover from old school D&D.
It is so
where
cool.
it's literally just boundless. It's how creative can you be with this? How much can you get away with before your before your DM goes,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry.
Right.
Right. Prestidigitation does not do that.
Right.
Sorry.
And in your pillars, so you got you don't have much social exploration.
I might
what
counter
charm person?
that. Well, I mean, certainly all of your actual mental manipulation stuff, but I would argue that. I mean, I do. If your point is compared to the others,
Yes.
yeah.
So
But I
I
would
just
say
think
that they still have a reasonably potent for every pillar. I think you could drum up a reasonable list. Of the 10, but
perhaps
yes.
Yeah, some social, but it really like exploration. It destroys. I don't think even the mighty rogue can compare to the wizard in exploration.
I think it depends on the type of exploration, but I would argue that I certainly think the wizard is, I think, the most utilitarian class
Yes.
across the board.
Yeah.
If you are intent on never being caught with your pants down by
Right.
spell list, you won't.
And I think it's such a fun for a veteran player to really like, I want to see what I can get away with. Play wizard.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that's my number 4, sir. What's yours?
Oh, that was your number 4. For some reason, I was thinking, well, my 4 we've already done, which was the cleric as well. We had an overlap.
Oh, fuck.
So,
you then.
my
Let's get
number
3.
3.
Oh, that's right. You're leading.
My number
I'm not used to
3.
you leading. I'm used to
Well,
it's Tuesday.
every now and then, that's the way the dance is going to go. My number 3 is going to be the barbarian class.
I knew you were gonna fucking pick barbarian.
Mainly because I'm really liking the notion of the Wizarker as a sweet.
For those of you who don't understand this, he thinks a barbarian for multi-class and a wizard, or wizard should multi-class and barbarian. I don't know what
there
it
is a running joke here at Modern Myth
hate
that
it so
drives
much.
Josh up the wall because he's a min-max
Makes no sense.
of building the ultimate. Probably
Ultimate.
about 50-50. Half the classes in Wizard, half the classes
It hurts me
in
even
Barbarian. No, that's the running joke. No, Barbarian. Actually, the fundamental reason I choose Barbarian is for its simplicity. It is a class. It's one of the classes that certainly, if a brand new player came to me and said, "I want to smash things," Fighter
Yes.
obviously comes to mind, and
But-
there are subclasses that might be easier, or you can pick almost any subclass in Barbarian, and it's going to be a very new player friendly
Absolutely.
experience. I also think there is something to be said for Barbarian. Made my list in a lot of regards purely for flavor and theme, because
Mhm.
I am not a huge. I have maybe just matured as I've gotten
Have
older.
you?
With
Have you?
no, very little. But I don't know how else to explain it. Like, there was a time where I was like, literally, there wouldn't be a single martial class on my list.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's not the case now.
I'm glad to see that you've
I've
matured.
matured. is
Matured. Oh, excuse me. The
but-
French pronunciation.
But the thing that I love about it is I think it's one of the most thematic martial classes. When you think barbarian, you go,
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
holy shit,
Yeah.
this is a thing to be reckoned with.
Right. Right.
Just rage incarnate, just pure
Yep.
strength. It's also from again, for a new player, I wouldn't steer someone towards this specifically with the idea of like, hey, it can oftentimes be an RP light character because that's the trope.
Yeah. Oh God. Look what Travis did with Grog.
Right.
man.
Yeah. I mean, but it's one of those things where certainly for those reasons, it's a great place for a new player who's martially inclined to get their feet wet.
Yep.
That said, what I think I love most about it is I think more than almost any other class, it blurs the line in such deceptive ways between being a gross tank and a gross damage dealer. And depending on your subclass, and that's something actually I think the subclasses are almost more definitional to those roles than maybe any other class. I mean, you look
Okay.
at, for instance, the two big ones that come to mind.
Okay.
Your bear totem,
Oh.
your totem warrior.
Oh yeah.
one of the nastiest tanks in the game, I think.
It might be the
really,
best tank in the
really
game.
nasty.
You cannot kill a
I don't know how much you've looked at Ancestral Warrior, Ancestral Garden. I can't remember
Is
the
that
name
the one
offhand.
where you can get revived without any cost?
I think that's the Zealot.
I think that's
Yeah.
so
The Ancestral is you invoke the spirits of your ancestors to fight alongside you.
Oh, okay.
Now think about this. You attack an enemy.
Okay.
When you hit, you go, I'm going to invoke my ancestors. Your ancestors begin cropping up and attacking them, distracting them.
Do they have to roll to hit?
That enemy now has disadvantage to attack anyone but you and does half damage when hitting anyone but you. That's that right there. On top of that, you've got I'm gonna forget the names now. I'm just gonna say Spirit Shield or Ancestral Shield or whatever.
Sure.
You can't use it on yourself.
Okay.
But an ally within, I believe it's 30 feet that you can see, is hit. You can go, no, my guardians are protecting them. Reduce that damage by 2 dice 6.
Holy
Reaction.
Shit. Okay, once per turn. Yeah.
But
That's
not,
really good.
Not on any cooldown, not on any rest, not on any. There's some really cool.
That's
now,
really cool.
It sacrifices a lot of the offensive. Like the bear really is that crux that just you're in the shit fucking things up. But that's
then I think that's when you roll barbarian. I think some people might think, oh, I'm going to be the ultimate damage dealer.
Which I mean, maybe not the ultimate, but you can certainly be full blown striker.
You can go, but I think when you embrace the fact that no, I'm going to roll tank, that's when barbarian really starts to show.
Well, I think arguably the most potent class is the bear totem. I mean, or the totem warrior with the bear specifically.
Yeah.
But I do actually think, I mean, mechanically speaking, check out the Ancestral Gardens because there's a lot of cool stuff.
That's a different aspect of the tank idea is you want to make it so that they either attack you or are punished for not attacking you.
Right.
And that's that really exemplifies that.
Yeah.
No, it's not on my list. I will not lie to you right now, but I respect barbarian.
Now here's the reason it wasn't higher on my list. When I think barbarian, and now there's been additional subclasses, so there's a bigger breadth, but from kind of the let's say a little more old school thought process, when I think barbarian, the berserker is what I think of.
Oh.
And I think it's the worst.
It is probably the worst
subclass. The interactions with exhaustion really, it's certainly the most it's the most difficult subclass to play.
Yeah.
But I think it manifests as it's more difficult and probably worse for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the berserker, I mean, when you think just your quintessential barbarian,
right?
I think that's really what you don't think of ancestors popping up and fighting. You don't think of turning into this bear thing. You just think of this just crazed maniac who's
exhaustion
everything.
Kills that subclass.
And so that's my one big mark against the barbarian class.
I agree.
Is what immediately comes to mind. You almost immediately read it and go, and if you don't know the implications of exhaustion, you go, whatever, cool. But once you know, then you go, wow, what comes to mind also correlates with the worst decision for subclasses.
Right.
It's kind of this weird disconnect.
And it's a lot of barbarians, I feel like in you want to be that you deal a high amount of damage, but it's all about damage as quick as you can. And I don't feel like that's what barbarian is in D&D. You are the tank. You absorb a lot of damage. You deal a decent amount of damage.
I think that's one of the things they do the best. They absorb damage and they heal themselves. They're
self-reliant in some ways.
Yeah, and in that regard, they are kind of.
Oh man, if you have a cleric who is healing your barbarian,
pretty gross.
Pretty gross.
Okay, honestly, actually, it'd be really cool to run a one shot with the whatever we decide the top 5. From both of our lists,
I like
and
it.
I'll just give you like the max that the CR can tolerate for your.
I like it.
Is actually I'll have to break CR because there's no way I'll be able to challenge you with it.
I like it.
All right, number 3, sir.
So this is rather low on the list. Paladin.
Paladin, okay.
Yeah. Absolutely love Paladin. Paladin is again, it has such a strong. It has so many strong things for it.
Yeah.
It's like the more I think about it, the more ridiculous it gets before you get to subclass.
Yeah. Well, and I might even say just at face value. I mean, I know we just were talking about the Bear Totem. It's a very different kind of tank, but it's certainly in the running for one of the best tank classes
I think
out there.
Dungeon Dudes did put Paladin as their number one.
Who's
tank.
Dungeon Dudes? Those guys don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons. Hey, Dungeon Dudes, hit us up. I'd love to speak with you on Game and the
you
PM.
guys are legit for sure. If you're watching this, I'll be
No,
impressed.
did they? I don't know that I saw that video. So they
I
listed.
think I think they listed a Paladin.
Yeah, it's.
as
I
their
mean, it's a
class.
strong entry for sure.
And it's so. Barbarian is I think the closest runner up to being a tank class, and that is because it takes half when it's raging, it takes half damage, and if you go Bear Totem, it takes half down all damage.
Right.
What is amazing about Paladin is how it can share what it does with its teammates.
I was just about to hit on that. I think it's arguably one of the best support classes.
Yeah,
Period. Even with cleric on the list.
Even with cleric on the list.
But the thing is a cleric needs to full blown go, I'm gonna support. A paladin just goes, I'm a paladin.
Yeah.
It's what I do.
Yep.
Like it's not you're not building specifically as a support class.
Right.
For instance, Kel
Yep.
does a tremendous amount of support, especially when you factor auras, when you factor bless.
Oh, the
when you factor,
aura.
you know.
Oh my God. Yes.
But your build really is this kind of sticky porcupine,
Yeah. I build
polearm
them that way.
master, sentinel, tunnel fighter vibe.
Yep.
So that's the thing is that like, most of your effort mechanically has gone in that direction.
Yep.
It's just what paladins do to lend all those other things. So
Okay, breaking it down, you're a good martial class.
Yep.
All right, you get an extra attack like Barbarian does. You get at level. That's happening next level. Prepare your ass for this. Improved Divine Smite, I think it's called, where I get an additional 1d8 for every hit. Yeah. By the way, with Tunnel Fighter and Sentinel, that gets pretty redonk. But
I might nerf that. I might just make that not a thing.
I told you this was happening. I told you from level 1 this is happening.
I know.
But so you can deal some damage just natural. Then you are a spellcaster.
Yeah.
And you have heavy armor. God damn, there's so many things. There's so many
Well,
things.
the heavy armor out the gate is also a very
what is the most when you see a paladin, you're like, yeah, that motherfucker's in leather armor. That's what I see my paladin.
No. If you're wearing leather armor and you're a paladin, you are there's very few times where you're playing the game wrong. You're playing the game wrong.
I think so. Granted, you might make an argument for dex-based paladin. I don't know. There might be an argument for it. But I like strength.
If you're standing on the platform of dex-based paladin, you're also playing the game wrong. No, as we've said so many times, play the paladin you love to play.
But strength-based, you're wearing heavy plate mail. You have a shield. Like, that's 20 AC right there. That's you. Yeah. Why are you not allowing me to find magic items that let me go above 20?
You did.
What?
You haven't put on that plate mail that is.
You mean the evil shit that's cursed?
I didn't say it was. I don't think it's.
Yeah, I'm not. Anyway, so you.
And what other items do you have in mind for?
I'd like to be able to. We'll talk about it later. So Paladin is amazing with that. They're based. So Barbarian is a great tank because they are attractive to hit because you can probably hit them, right? Because their AC is not great. Put half damage on everything. That's a great mechanic. Paladin's a little different that it's just hard to fucking hit them. And if you do hit them, they have a pretty good HP pool. So that's great. And then you have damage dealing wise, depends on how you build them, but the fact that you have smites.
Well, I was going to say the ability to Nova in a clutch situation. And I think actually that becomes kind of, as you get into mid and late stage paladins,
that's important.
Knowing when to
initiate that Nova.
Yeah. That can really sway a fight. And the coolest part about it is I kind of think that's the right feel.
Mm-hmm.
A paladin is the rock. Cool. They're emitting that aura. Mm-hmm. They're making sure their allies are safe. They're this big
We'll talk about Aura soon, but yes,
chunky guy to deal with out there on the battlefield. When the fight is getting bad, and if that paladin knows the target, the time, all of those factors,
you can
unleash
hell, dude.
That should be the feel, the shimmer of your god or goddess's light shining down on you, turning the tide. That's exactly what I think. If you're playing a paladin, that's what you want. You want things like, you almost as a paladin want to look around and go like, shit's dire. It's time to actually do something.
Right.
Like that's, you don't want to do it too soon because
you don't
then
want to
no
blow
one
your load.
realizes how badass and important you were in the scope.
You gotta save it for that special moment.
You gotta do it.
Kinda,
like every Tuesday. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that.
So yeah, it's got attack, it's got defense. Okay, awesome. You support your teammates. Lay on hands. I didn't realize how amazing that ability is.
Yeah. The flexibility of it as a healing.
I can heal poison and I think disease, as well as just base hit points. And as long as I have, I always keep 5 lay on hands in reserve, I can stabilize people left and right. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I have that healing aspect. Okay, now throw on top of that, I'm a half caster. I got bless. I got some really good. Find Steed is amazing. I love Find Steed.
I don't know that it's amazing.
It's amazing.
I don't know that it's amazing.
It's amazing. One of the best paladin spells.
We needed to find a place in which to lock horns in this episode.
Okay.
Using the term amazing for Find Steed, I'm gonna have to draw the line right there.
I have actually no, I'll fight you on this. The fact that, especially as a tactical player, that I have another creature that I have control over really changes things up.
Oh yeah, I will. I'll definitely. Are you anticipating your horse getting in the mix?
They have one. I don't have a horse, but for the standard,
if we're don't bleed that into just because it's modified.
It would be different, but there's no reason why it couldn't. And it'd be another.
Well, I'll say it's also an ability from a utility standpoint, and obviously there could be some cool tactical
not so much combat. Yeah, yeah.
But I think amazing is a little strong.
But let me,
especially given everything else the paladin. You could say there's a bunch of other stuff. I'll nod readily. You go like, that's amazing.
Okay,
yeah.
what other? Okay,
lay on hands is amazing.
Okay,
getting rid of poison, getting rid of
yeah. So what spell? What spell is you like? Oh man, that's fucking awesome.
No, smites are an amazing.
That's not
aspect.
A spell, dude.
No, but I'm saying no. The hill I would not die on with paladins is their spell list. Yeah, they've got some awesome utility.
Yeah.
Zone of Truth, as we've come to find, has been such a
socially.
Yeah, that's the thing
that's another thing we haven't gotten to yet.
Is their innate charisma build
second? They're mad dependent, which multi ability score dependent. But so probably strength is up there, and then charisma is probably your second. And yeah, so that means you could be the face,
right?
And you could be doing all that.
Sometimes, like if you had an intelligence of 8 or better, you'd probably be the face of the. You'd probably be the
Kel
face.
Tries
of the
his best, man. That's all I can say about that. But yeah, no, I can't. There's so many things that it does right, and we haven't even talked about subclasses again.
Yeah. Well, so that's something I was actually going to ask you is, where do you stand? And that this is not to take a dig at the paladin subclass. As much as I said, I love the wizard, but I'm not blown away by the list of subclasses. The paladin I find to be in a similar space where it's not like the entire list is insane. It's not like the entire list is nah. I just find the entire like the core class is the strength of the class.
Yes.
It's not made or broken by the subclasses. The way some classes, it's like, man, those 3 subclasses destroy everything. It's like
it's a base. But there are some subclasses and some spell lists that are fantastic. And I will also God, there's so many things amazing about Paladin. I need to get off of it. But
no, I certainly won't fight you on it. I think considering where cleric and fighter landed on my list, I think paladin is a pretty solid merge
Right.
of those two. I mean, how can I argue against something that really has got a foot in both camps?
Right. It just
Um,
it can be such a good team. I've fallen in love with Paladin. My negative about it, first off, Wizards decided in their infinite wisdom that
Which is infinite.
it is infinite and cannot be
Sponsorship.
questioned.
Continue.
Please, actually, but you have to be with you can. D&D 5e said you can just believe really hard in something. Like, oh, I really believe in this noble guy. Fuck that. You need a deity.
What's weird is the energy you're bringing to that feels a lot like my arcane trickster energy, and I'm all for it. I completely agree.
Okay.
You should have a deity.
You should have a deity.
I'm with that. I do not like the idea, like, you don't just get a compromise on that notion. Like,
yeah, I believe really hard.
Yeah.
And somehow I have access to this stuff.
Yeah, that's like you can be like the oath of Peter Pan, I guess, if that's
Ooh.
your
Go at it.
Yep.
That'd actually be a fun subclass.
gain that flight at level 5.
Ooh, actually that'd be good.
Yep. But only if you believe hard enough. I'm going to need that belief check every
Right,
round.
and you gotta have Tinkerbell follow you around and
Yep.
sprinkle that your fairy dust.
Yep.
And
That's
you
where it's
have to
going.
abduct children.
This is all adding. This is checking out. All right. Let's keep moving. We actually don't need to say a huge amount about my number 2 because I was really on the fence and I landed on Wizard.
Okay. I knew Wizard. I knew
yeah.
Wizard was going to be on your list.
I think I said most everything I wanted to say about Wizard. The reason it hit my list, I consider it to be the most versatile class by way of utility.
100%.
I really don't. Now, I think you can build a wizard to be very one-dimensional. If you want to have every fire spell in the book and nothing but, you can do that. I mean, you'll end up having to fill some other stuff out. But I can go evocation, necromancy, necromancy, abjuration.
No one's going to do. Well, I think once you play it for a little bit, you'll be like, oh, this makes sense.
I think it doesn't make sense to be that one-dimensional. So, and again, I don't want to jump too far back to it because I think we've pretty much hit on that.
I love Wizard.
Let me just double check. I guess I'll hit on the.
He wrote way more notes on this one. For the monsters episode, I came prepared.
It's weird because, and see, that's the thing is I think because I needed to do my read to make sure I was on point. I'm not in that player handbook all that often, but so something I will say about Wizard 2 that it was in my notes is intelligence is a far underutilized stat.
I will agree with you 100%.
And that's not a reason to go like, well, I want to play an intelligence-based character, so I'm going to play one of the 2 that are available.
Yes.
That's not a reason, but it's at least worth noting. Like, of the 13 classes, there's only 2 that you can leverage intelligence. That's a little.
Yeah.
I guess of 13 classes, 6 characteristics, that's not that out of sync. But it feels like intelligence is kind of underutilized, especially
100%.
because I think pretty much all of the saving throws are wisdom. That generally I would
what
consider
is intelligence. It's like mind flayers. That's it, man.
To me. Well, and even at that, like, I think I'd have to double check, but I think there's a number of wisdom-based saving throws for mind flayers. Even.
Oh, jeez.
So it's just don't quote me on that. I need to double check that. Anyways, I was really on the fence between that and sorcerer, and here's the duality.
Go,
I think we really hit the wizard thing. The reason sorcerer was such in contention because I think all of that versatility on like a 30,000-foot basis of I'm going to pick the right spell list. I'm going to prepare the right spells for the situation we're in. And we're never going to be caught off guard because I'm going to have the solution.
Yep.
That's the macro view of the game. Sorcerer does that same thing on the micro view where they're going, it's my turn and this and this have happened since my last turn. This is what I'm spending my sorcery points on. This is the way I'm going to manipulate this arcane energy to in this exact moment.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah. And I think from a combat standpoint, it's a lot harder to use those sorcery points.
That's the only it's one of the few ways to break the action economy with spells. One of the few ways.
Right. But it's also when you're out of combat, it becomes much more restrictive
Yep.
in the way in which you can use that. So sorcerer is almost the combat centric version of the wizard. And again,
Yep.
I love the flavor. I again, if I could choose
I love sorcerer.
the, but it was really hard to get away from a character that I think if you are playing smart has an answer for every situation. If you're building out your spell book to account for all of the possible threats you might incur. So that was my number 2. Not a huge amount more needs to be said. What do you have for your number 2, sir?
It's your number 5.
You got fighter at number 2. Okay.
I love
Interesting.
fighter.
You've never played a fighter.
Yeah.
Well, you played a warlord in 4E, which is close.
Yeah, yes, it's your martial
But-
healer, martial leader. I forget
Yeah.
all the terms you use in 4E. But
Good. That's a good habit.
is it?
Yes.
No, I
that's a-
still
that's a
think
good
in
thing.
those terms a lot.
That's a good thing. Well, I think some of, again, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater on 4E. I think there's all sorts of things that we shouldn't burn to the ground there. Plenty that we should.
Anyway, so
Why did it hit your list, or what didn't I mention that put it on your list?
absolutely. So I wanted a martial. What is my favorite pure martial? Okay, we got rogue, barbarian, and fighter. Okay, rogue, tight. Barbarian, tight. Why choose fighter? It's so you can be so unique with fighter. The base class sets you up to be amazing in the combat. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
You're going to be good at combat.
Right.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
You're going to be
especially
good.
by the time you get level 5 and you get that extra attack.
And then when you reach 11, when you reach the third attack,
Yeah.
and then you have 2 action surges, and then
Yeah.
it gets, and then
The fighter action economy is
Is-
disgusting, and something I didn't mention in mine. I hope I'm not. No, actually, I want to let you finish. I
Okay.
don't want to step on your toes if you got this. But I'll mention
yeah.
it
So
at the
you got your action economy. So you are dominating. But what I also really enjoy, and Rogue shares this as well, is you have your ASIs. That happens more than any other class. So you get to you can improve your strength or dex, whatever your fighter is. But you can also start taking feats. And I think feats provide such a unique way to make your character special.
That's a great point. Fighter leverages feats better than a lot of classes.
yeah, I think Rogue is the only one
I'd
that
have.
competes
Yeah, I
with
was
it.
going to say I'd have to think about it more to say if it's one of the best, but it's up there.
I think it is. I
Yeah.
think it slightly pushes out Rogue. Rogue is great too, but so you have combat down, and then you look at the subclasses, and it's just how do you want to just destroy your enemies? You meant Eldritch Knight, which I find interesting. You have such a hard time with Arcane Trickster.
No, I feel the same way about Eldritch Knight.
Oh, you do.
Rogue,
Fuck you then.
Rogue is so near and dear to my heart. That's why that's the one that I'd say the same thing about Arcane Archer. It's
Arcane Archer sucks though.
well, I mean, I'm purely talking about thematically.
Okay.
Why? Like again, what you just said. You were going through your list of pure martial classes.
Right.
Why introduce a subclass that is? And again, I have less beef with that, but it's across the board. Once one class, by nature of their subclass, begins stepping on the toes of an entirely different class, I just go, that's an opportunity for that class to shore up your weakness.
So does Wizard Blade Singer? Do you have a hard time with that?
Well, again, less so, but I again, it's to the same point.
We won't go too far
yeah.
down this rabbit hole because that's not the.
But- But yeah, I mean, Eldritch Knight is potent. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, it's potent. But then you have a Battle Master. I happen to agree. I think it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest.
Battlemaster is gross.
Echo
Superior
Knight.
gross.
Holy crap!
Echo Knight,
really
very cool.
Very cool.
And again, even that is one of those things where thematically we're starting to get into that space, but no other class is really doing that.
yeah,
So even though it's not purely this martial feel,
it's so because it's temporal energy. I'm just like I'm a huge fan of the Dune series, And if I were to make a Fremen warrior, I would go like
Yeah.
that route. Or
That is a
Bene
really-
Gesserit, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
That's a really good encapsulation
Yeah.
of that vibe.
Yeah, I go that route, and it was just so cool. And then I also really enjoy the I want to say Runesmith. That's not what it is.
Oh, it's
They
not-
use
it's not-
the giant runes to.
yeah, it's not the Runecaster. It's not the.
I
Rune-
forget what it is.
I know the one you're talking. Rune Knight.
Rune Knight.
Yeah.
Thank you. If
Yep.
that's my backup character for Cal, by the way. He's a Rune Knight Goliath. Who's a pugilist. He's all about the punchings.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just like it's so many amazing things you can do with the fighter that it's like, yes, the barbarian is an amazing tank and it's amazing in so many things, but the fighter is a pretty decent tank, but it can do so much more on top of that.
Well, what I like about the fighter is it's maybe the most grounded class. Like, again, some of the subclasses start pushing it out of that. And maybe this is kind of my beef with those subclasses that push. The fighter is one of those classes that's just throughout all of D&D history been okay with being the guy who's just good to wear armor and good to wield a sword and go get in the shit. Like,
Yeah.
and again, I think as future iterations come out, it's going to get more exotic, and because you're trying to capture the interest of players when you've got all this other crazy shit in the world.
But I don't think anyone's going to argue that a fighter can deal out some fucking crazy damage.
no doubt. Mechanically speaking, but I just think that
Thematic.
thematic flavor of like,
Who cares about thematics?
well,
man?
I know you said, but I'm just saying, like, a new player comes in and you go like, hey, do you want to be an awesome fighter who gets 2 action surges and 3 attacks per turn? And they go like, sweet. Like, does their blade ignite with arcane flame when they're doing it? And you're like, no,
No, he just swings it really, really
yeah,
well.
he's just a bad motherfucker. And they go like, yeah, that Rune Knight sounds pretty cool though. Or I'm sorry, that
Rune Knight does sound cool, but
well, it does. What I was actually going to say, Eldritch.
Oh, Eldritch. Yep. Which
that,
is
you know,
also super cool.
It is. But again, there's that thematic. It's hard to get away from that flair, and I get why there's a draw towards that. To me, you're just encouraging people to go like, I'm playing fighter. That's a badass martial class.
Yep.
And I'm going to take the most arcane inclined subclass and graft it in there and completely eliminate that badass. Like, that's what makes, to me, when the fighter
No.
stands up, having gotten his ass laid out and goes like, you know, blood running down.
Right.
And he goes like, all right, you know, and just gets back in it, sword in hand. And like, that to me is what makes fighters so fucking cool, is he doesn't need all that shit.
No,
Like,
but
well, this is, I mean, this is outside of the scope.
I disagree.
It's a pure
completely.
just
I think
thematic.
Eldritch Knight is
difference.
fantastic.
Again, at face value, it absolutely is. It's
Yeah.
a pure thematic thing.
So that's
yeah.
my number. Okay.
Number one.
All right.
Number one. I don't
All
need.
right.
I don't need to look at it, but I want to double check my notes for my
What do you got? What do you got?
rationale. My number one is Rogue. Number one is Rogue. Rogue actually, I'll say, is the one martial class growing up that it made sense to me. It made sense why someone would like. You look across the breadth of martial activities, and you go, I can at least understand why someone would Rogue. And it's grown and grown and grown on me. Again, when we talked in the DMPC episode, if I was playing a character, Reek is something very, very close to what that would be. Not necessarily mechanically or combat standpoint. I never would be a thrown weapon.
That was an interesting choice I saw you
Well,
choose.
most of that is to, again, leave runway for the party to be awesome and not.
Right.
The Rogue strikes me as such an interesting class because, and I think there are a few classes. I have a feeling we're about to discuss one of them, but there are a few classes that I think you kind of step into that class
Mhm.
knowing that your limelight is not on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Where you are going to find your most shining moments are, and there's not many classes, especially in 5e, that you can say this about. Again, cleric, great class,
Yep.
but it's when you're getting the shit kicked out of you and they're healing you, when they're calling down amazing buffs for their teammates around them. The rogue might have their most heroic moment in the entire campaign when that 9th tumbler on a super potent lock that no one thought you were getting into clicks over, and they go, even they're surprised that they got into it. And I think there's a number of classes that can find that spotlight outside of combat. But the rogue, from as far, I mean, you could go back to the earliest days of D&D. The rogue has always existed as an archetype that can find its greatest successes outside of combat. In 5th edition, I'd say that's about a 50-50 split because they can still be very potent in combat. But it hits my list primarily, I guess, for that reason I think you take the rogue not going, I can't wait to do so much backstab damage. Great reason to be a rogue.
Your sneak attack is legit.
But the thing is that there's someone else on your team who can do a lot of damage. There's someone else on your team who maybe can be pretty sneaky when they want to be. There's some, a shadow monk or a ranger or the likelihood that there's someone on your team.
That's 3.
3's it. 3's it.
That's all I get.
The likelihood that there's, oh my God, stop it. Stop. Cut the whole feed.
No, sorry.
The likelihood that there's someone on your team who is the default, we need to steal something off that guy. We need that lock picked. There are so many instances where someone goes, we need to do this. And all heads turn and go, you got this, rogue? Because this is your bag. We need to shimmy along that.
Jesus. I'm sorry, dude.
You're allergic to rogues, I think, is what it is.
That's
so that's one major aspect. And again, 5th edition has balanced their role in combat, I think, pretty well. So they don't have to be like, well, combat's going on and one hit and I immediately die. They're very potent in combat.
Very potent.
But the real reason, like I said, if you said pick a class that's potent in combat, I'd have a hard time picking, there's very few classes that aren't potent in combat.
Right.
That's the nature of 5th edition. But if you said pick a class that is really potent outside of combat, rogue lands on my list. Yep. I mean, again, there's a short list, but rogue lands on them.
I agree 100%. I love rogue. And you hit it on the head. Exploration, we've talked about this. Hey, let's kick at dead horse again. Exploration is really not a highly prized pillar, which is to the detriment, I think, to 5e. And rogue is so good at that pillar that whenever that happens, you're like, you're absolutely right. Everyone looks at the rogue,
right? And I think especially bringing up exploration specifically, the interesting thing is we haven't got to subclass space yet.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There are some gnarly subclasses. I think if you're specifically talking about combat and application of sneak attack damage, you're going to really have a hard time getting past Swashbuckler.
I love
because effectively you never don't.
Yeah, you got your sneak
like
attack.
If you're playing smart, you're always sneak attacking. And in 5th edition, it's pretty hard to not find your sneak attack anyways. There's opportunities.
That's actually good negative too. So I agree. I love the base class, but the subclasses feel very lackluster.
I agree. The exceptions to that statement are the ones I disagree with the most. The Arcane Trickster, I think, is...
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a fantastic subclass.
It is
amazing.
I actually think it's one of the most potent subclasses. And to me, that is the real...
Not only are you a master of you're the skill monkey, but you have the arcane to back it up, dude.
The biggest thing, as far as I'm concerned, is... It already chaps me a little bit that you're stepping on any actual arcane user's toes. More so that it is such a potent option that like you're inclined to move that. Like if you look at the actual breakdown of every subclass, like if it was a mediocre subclass, but if you're picking, say, top 3, it's in the top. There's no question, it's in the top 3 subclasses. Soul Knife is, I don't know if you, how much it is.
I haven't looked.
It's a
much into Soul
psionic
Knife.
one, and it is gross. Tasha's has introduced a really interesting. It's the whole premise, and I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Is your ability to speak with the fallen, kind of you kind of engage with them, but
Okay.
like you have the ability. I think it's a 10-minute duration to move through walls and floors. So from an infiltration standpoint,
That's-
there's some
You
really cool
basically
stuff.
got arcane eye right there.
Yeah. I mean, your ability to infiltrate, and beyond that, once you're in there, you can engage with things. And
Oh
you know,
gosh.
I mean, well,
dang.
not in that form, but you can.
What do you remember the subclass?
The name is
I
not
don't know this.
not coming to me, but it's from
Ah,
Tasha's.
Tasha.
Drop it in the comments. You got. I know someone out there is going to be like, "It's this, you idiot." Just drop it in the write the name of it, you idiot, in the comments. No, there's some really cool stuff. Soul Knife, I think, is actually arguably one of the most, and it's a psionic spin on it.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with psionics. It can get broke real
And-
fast.
Again, it's another one of those spaces, same as Arcane Trickster, where I just go like, the rogue has niched out this really cool space to be. I have a hard time grasping why you would start grafting in these other flavors into it. But specifically, we're talking about the exploration pillar.
Mhm.
Something really interesting: the scout subclass.
Mhm.
A rogue with the scout subclass immediately. Not that we need to shit on the ranger anymore. I know they've shirted up a little bit, but immediately. I mean, gaining survival and nature both with expertise. Even if wisdom isn't your jam, you probably are outrolling your ranger at this point.
Yeah,
you know?
expertise is.
And that's at
Yeah.
level 3. So you're going, what, I mean, like,
Yeah.
so if you're playing in a real wilderness setting and someone's playing a rogue and they go scout, they rapidly begin, again, I don't think this is a good thing, but they rapidly begin stepping on the toes of your ranger. I mean, it's an example of the ways in which they
Poor
can
ranger.
flex in this Swiss Army knife kind of play. I think that's one thing that the subclasses do well. I agree that not all of them are stellar and not all of them are that exciting. But if you go, I want to be the best socialer that there is, everything social, that's what I do. Your mastermind is a great space where you're dealing with.
I can think of something that'll top it, but continue.
What you got? I'm curious.
Bard?
Oh, well, no, by class. I thought you meant by a different subclass.
No.
Yeah, no, and I mean, a charisma core class is going to be hard to contend with in that regard. But I'm just saying, by subclass, you're going. By subclass, you're going. I want to do social things.
Yeah.
Cool. Mastermind. I want to do just flat out sneak attack, blow up damage. Assassin. Great. I want to do.
Well, Swashbuckler is also, I think, up there with
Well,
Assassin.
yeah. It kind of depends, because if you get assassin and you get the alert and you get that,
Oh.
as long as you're going first and just, I mean, you can do some nuke
Yes.
level damage. But I mean, it's kind of that you can kind of, and there's very few classes. There's some where you can go, do I want to be, well, take barbarian. Do I want to be more of a striker kind of DPS character? Do I want to be more of a tank?
Right.
You can make those decisions. Rogue, you really get to go, do I want to be a face? Do I want to be espionage sneaky character?
Mhm.
Do I want to be DPS character? I mean, there's a Swiss Army knife opportunity via your subclass to kind of go any direction you want, which is what the rogue, I think, has always done well. Is they are the skill monkeys in the
Yep.
entire, and really I think have always kind of been that. I mean, even I think that's been exemplified even further in 5th edition.
No,
but
I Rogue is a fantastic sneak attack damage. If you're like, they're not good tanks,
no,
but you have what's that? You take half damage.
uncanny dodge.
Uncanny dodge.
Yep.
Thank you. So you have some abilities there.
They
but-
have a very interesting action economy. They actually have one of the most, I think, invested action economies. If you're building a rogue out,
Mhm.
by not considering your action economy, that you can really shoot yourself in the foot.
Yes.
They're also one of the one. I mean, being able to do so many of the core actions as a bonus. your dash as a bonus.
Yep.
If you take the thief class, being able to interact with I'm sorry, use an item as a bonus. All of these things really leverage that bonus action economy.
Yeah.
I think they're one of the most skilled implementations, like a really
The base
well
class. Yeah.
fleshed out rogue can utilize the action economy better than almost any class. Now, I mean, there are contenders to that,
Yep.
but when you consider that your core kind of action, interaction, reaction, bonus action, those four things, I think you have more options at your disposal for each of those
The most.
in the rogue pillar than many other classes out there. I'd say they're in the top, probably top 3.
Yeah. Yeah, because with uncanny dodge and no, I get what you're saying.
Yep.
No, I agree. Our rogue is I love rogue as a multi-class for sure. As a pure rogue, I don't know, but it is
Well, definitely some gross stuff you can do with multi. I mean, Amanda has a good point in case.
Yeah, fighter rogue.
Whether you want to call it's gross, the rogue side is gross, or the fighter side is gross. I mean, it's kind of the battle master grafted into the rogue.
So
Is a
good.
really potent combination.
Really good.
But whatever the case is, I don't think there's any disputing that if you need a job done that isn't explicitly combat, you're going to have a hard time finding a class that's going to outskill. And I know this is a great segue into what you're about to say. What you got for your number 1 there, brother?
Oh, dude, rogue's great. Rogue's great, isn't it? It's great. You have expertise. Expertise is a great thing to have as a skill monkey. You have
Especially on 4 separate skills, expertise.
yeah,
Gross.
no, but expertise in general. Yeah. You have all that amazing abilities. You're able to use the exploration pillar to its full extent. Wouldn't it be great if you could also mold the social into that? Wouldn't it also be great if you could sprinkle some arcane in there? Not only sprinkle, fucking douse it in arcane.
That's the greatest flaw of the class you're about to introduce. But
Bard is the greatest class in all of D&D. I don't care who you are. Oh, it's so good.
I think we've just drawn the line for Team Bard or Team Rogue for the comments.
Okay. Hey, comment
Let's
section.
go.
You've been pulling for me, and I love y'all.
Let's go. You gave him Team Flump. It was a pity give.
Oh,
I
it's
could tell.
it's
I
Bard.
could tell.
Bard wins. It's not even a question.
We'll see. We'll see.
I don't even know where to
I
begin.
think. Well, here's the thing. I think your setup is a little flawed in that if
Okay.
you're comparing the Bard's ability to explore with the Bard, absolutely. Bard owns the social pillar the way the Rogue owns the exploration pillar.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it can also go into Explorer.
I mean, it's got some skills there, but it's not. It doesn't own the exploration pillar. the way-
No. Rogue wins.
Yeah, Rogue wins exploration.
Bard
wins-
second.
Bard wins social.
So Bard wins social. Second place Exploration.
Yeah, and vice versa. I think they're
No.
two sides. You're saying Rogue is not second place to the Bard in-
Social.
in
Social. Yeah, I'm saying
well,
that.
across all classes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just saying somehow the Rogue was not in this 2-man fight. Somehow the Rogue wasn't coming.
Okay, hang on.
in second.
Okay. All right, let's put them against each other. Bard wins social.
Yeah.
Rogue isn't even anywhere close on the social. Nowhere close.
I would say, yeah, at your core build out, very unlikely.
Very unlikely
Yeah.
unless you build a niche character.
But I would also say that depending on what your investment is into the exploration pillar, I mean, you are siphoning a certain amount of your character's skill set as a bard. If you're going to I'm going to compete with the rogue in the exploration pillar,
Okay.
you're fucking yourself in other places.
Okay.
And that goes for any class. Don't get me wrong. The rogue dominates I think
but it doesn't
given the
it's not
decision making.
Yes. So you're second place, but you're not far off. Okay, cool.
What would you say is the bard's sure up on the exploration pillar? What is their
Expertise?
default answer? Well, not just expertise, but what's their default answer to let's say your primary, you're dealing with. Whoa, that's a spill. Let's keep right on rolling.
I just won.
That's no. They feel bad for me now, so that it's
Nope.
definitely. Look, I don't need my notes anymore. Look at that. That's that roguish ingenuity right there. That's expertise.
I wish a bard
no.
could equally have done.
What's what is, for your core
Okay.
dealing with traps,
Okay.
locks, I guess virtually anything that requires acrobatics. What's the so we'll call the physical aspect of exploration. And
Okay. That's fair. So when it comes to you cannot get proficiency in lockpicking. That is a purely rogue thing.
so what happens if the first door you come across is locked?
You-
How much exploration is that bard going to do?
You look at
Yeah,
your
that one.
barbarian who is all maxed out in strength and he breaks the lock.
You smash it, boy.
So like
No, continue. Give your actual profile for. We've been riffing a little bit in the locking horns on the bard,
Yeah.
bard versus. But give me your breakdown for like why bard. I mean, everyone who has ever talked to you knows it's bard. So
I was about to say, like, if you didn't know this, Bard, you haven't watched any of our other episodes. So you can challenge the rogue on its skill monkey ability. You can challenge it.
absolutely.
Cool. You have plenty of support that you can challenge the cleric. You surpass the paladin now. If it wasn't for the aura.
Surpass the idea that you're challenging the cleric. I mean, you can compete in the same space.
All right.
Challenging the cleric by way of you're getting onto healing.
No. You're right. You can do that. You can. You have so many. You have so many ways that you can spread out. You look at your party like, oh, I have a barbarian, a cleric, and a fighter. I'm gonna go rogue hard. I'm gonna go for those. I'm gonna be that kind of bard. You have all your spell list is good, and on top of that, you flip the middle finger to your spell list and say magic secrets, and I can steal shit. Especially if you go Lord Bard. Lord Bard is awesome.
Yeah. And there's so many the various colleges. I mean, I actually think it's one of the classes I don't like saying this because I am not a Bard fan.
Bard is so good.
Knows. And again, mechanically, I have no argument against it. It's a purely thematic thing. I'm not crazy about Bard, but there's no denying it is one of the most potent. We talked about Cleric being a very potent class. And I actually think it's interesting because I think Bard is landing on your list for the exact same reasons. It's the versatility of that class.
Yep.
Is that you can fill so many roles. And it really is. It's really a potent class.
There are roles that it cannot fill. You are not going to be a good tank. Sorry, bud.
Right.
You're not going to be a front line.
Quite frankly, if there was a class that you went like it fills every role, just pick your subclass and fill a role. That I'd have a problem with that. I don't want a class that even by subclass can fill every role in the game.
Fighter almost gets to that.
Fighter gets close. Yeah.
Fighter gets close.
Yeah, but I mean, fighter's not gonna be a controller.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
there's just no.
Yeah, there's nothing about that. So yeah, it just does so much. And what I love about Bard is it kind of has that cleric feel. That you are awesome, but you're awesome also through empowering your teammates.
Yeah,
which I think is different from Rogue. Rogue is like, I'm the fucking star.
That I completely agree with. That the rogue got a lone wolf aspect to it. I don't think that's a great archetype to run with.
Fuck the lone wolf, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been so played out. But I agree that even if they are the guy for the job, the girl for the job, the whatever they are for, in that moment, I agree with you. It's the moments in which the whole team thrives. And I think that there's no question the Bard facilitates that better than the rogue.
I think so.
No question.
It's It just does so many things well. The new, have you taken the College of, I think it's Creationism?
College of Creationism? No, is this Tasha's?
I don't know when it came out. It's you can make a non-magical whatever, but at 6 you can give it life, and it almost like it kind of like I will
What?
say it like shits on the Ranger even more. Poor fucking Ranger.
Poor Ranger. It just it just came to the surface and gasped for air.
No, I don't
And
think it
here
competes.
comes the Bard wave. Just like, oh, you enjoy oxygen much?
Right. I don't think it does that, but it's an interesting.
No, I'll have to check this out. I haven't even heard about it. from
Yeah,
a
yeah, you have to
supplement
check that out.
standpoint.
There's
Was this part of the new? Because I know they had a new supplement out with
I'll have to
with
look.
all of the giant. Have you seen this?
no.
Okay, well, we'll get into that.
All right.
Okay.
But there's so many colleges. I obviously Laura's my favorite because I love magical secrets, and you become like an arcane, amazing person. But there's also like eloquence. Hey,
Eloquence Bard is
hey, you want to rule the social? You will dominate.
Yeah.
You will not fail charisma checks.
Yep.
Which is scary, disgusting when you realize how much you can use that. Like, because 5e is very social dominant.
well. So here's something that's interesting: is I think both of our number one picks are actually pretty hinged on your setting. As cool as they are. Now I think they're both very versatile. If you're doing a murder dungeon crawl, great. There's going to be all sorts of traps and locks for the rogue to get after. There's going to be all sorts of support for the team that the bard can do. But that subclass really does begin to define. Like, if you pick
Yes.
the eloquence,
Yes.
and you're going, the whole campaign's taking place in the wilderness.
Yeah, it leaves
Probably not, so there it's interesting that they are very potent in so many regards, but kind of in the same way that the wizard needs to know what their day is going to look like to prepare their spells.
right.
You really need to
know
kind
your
of
campaign.
have an idea of what your setting looks like, such that you can deliver the version of bard, the version of rogue that's
Right.
going to actually thrive in that
Right.
in that space.
Well, I just feel like Bard is rogue with spells.
Which is why I hate it. Oh, well, it's not actually. Here's the thing. I'm
Hate it.
surprised. I'm surprised you don't hate Arcane Trickster. As
don't.
I've said so many times, if you want to play an Arcane Trickster, just play a fucking bard.
Yeah,
Like-
that's why I don't hate it. It's like, hey, are you playing Arcane Trickster? Well, congratulations. You should have played a Bard the whole entire time.
Well, but for that exact reason, like, okay, say you're sitting at the table and you go
Okay.
like, I've got this awesome bard concept,
cool.
and some rando comes and sits at the table and goes, I'm playing a rogue. I'm
Cool.
gonna be an Arcane Trickster.
Rock on.
That don't say rock on. That shit sucks.
No, that's
That
oh,
it's to me it is so congruent with a class that already exists. It's kind of, again, the question is why.
well, it also depends on your table. Like if maybe we'd step on each other's toes. But if I was the only if we didn't have any other arcane person, Arcane Trickster would be very welcome at that table.
Oh, no doubt. But I'm just saying, in the same way that if you were playing a fighter and there was a college of rub some fucking dirt on it, where that basically just made a bard a pure fighter, it would be like, why did you take that? Why would you play bard with that subclass when you could just play fighter? That's what I don't get.
because you make no sense. Because Bard is an arcane. Anyway, hey, listen, hey, you out there.
Hey,
Who won? Bard wins.
well, here's the deal.
Bard wins.
Float it out there. I'd love to hear it. I know how popular Bard is, and I know I'm in the minority on.
I love Rogue too. I don't mean to diss on rogues. I love rogues.
But I guess how about this? Here's the float out in
Yeah.
the comments. You can either
Okay.
play Bard and never play Rogue again, or
What?
Rogue and never play Bard again.
I win. Oh, I'm gonna win this hard.
We'll see. But those are the criteria. Drop Bard or Rogue in the
I
comments.
win. You just fucked yourself.
I would be very curious to
I
see
won.
what people's position is.
I do
on the
like your
subject.
list, though. I like your list.
I like your list. The only one that really, like I said, I mean, I knew Bard was going to be on there. I mean, that was
you knew it was my number one. Anyway, hey, you've stuck it out this long. What is your favorite class?
yes. We want to hear in the comments.
Bard or Rogue?
Well, certainly weigh in on the Bard versus Rogue locking of horns. But what is the class that if you could, I mean, if you had to choose one class right now, you couldn't play any others?
Ooh, still choose Bard every time.
Yeah, I know yours would still be. And that's the thing is, I don't know that mine would be Rogue. I'd have
And
a
my
hard
next-
time choosing.
My next character is not Bard.
Thank God.
Hey,
No, we've run
you
through.
had a good list, my friend.
Hey, I enjoyed your list as well. Like I said, obviously we disagree on the Bard space, but there's no disagreement. Bard is a potent class. If you love playing your Bard, if you love rocking those strings or those sweet
Oh, wow.
finger holes,
I'll
I know
tell you,
you
I'll
love the
get
term
all those
finger hole.
holes. Oh, I got all those holes. It's Tuesday.
keep right on rocking at home, guys. Whether it is picking locks or strumming your lute, I think that just about wraps us up here. That's the top 10 classes right here at Modern Myth for Split Screen. Anything else you got to add? We gotta take it out. How do we take it out this time?
The world is yours.